Hey everyone, it's Talia here. Welcome back to another video on my channel. We're going to do a fall nail art video, and I'm hoping that this will give you some fun ideas for that fall nail art that's coming up and get you ready for the upcoming season. So the first look that we're going to start with is this really pretty like matte leaf look, and you're going to want to start with a light neutral base. Now I really like the BeMi gel polishes for so many reasons, but they actually came out with a whole neutral collection one year and all of the colors in it are stunning. So I'm going to use one of the colors from that. It's this really pretty like peachy neutral, and you can see how concentrated it is too. Like I only did one coat for this design. These flakes you're going to see a lot throughout the video. I only use the gold ones, but they do come in silver and like a pretty rose gold too. And I'm just going to drop a little bit of that kind of on an angle in the semi-dispersion layer that BeMi gel polishes have. Okay, this is a new release from BeMi and it is their Ultra Slick Matte. This has quickly become a favorite matte top coat for me. We're going to go through a bunch of different reasons throughout the video, but first off, the application of it is just seamless and it gives like a really flawless matte look, and there is literally no dispersion layer, which is great for a lot of the different art that I do. Now I pulled a variety of stamping polishes for this look. We end up only using 3 of them, but there's some great shades from Clear Jelly. Now if you're ever having issues transferring your colors all of a sudden, it very well might not just need to be like thinned out a little bit. So I'm going to use a Clear Jelly Stamper polish thinner to thin out my red one because I noticed that it was getting a little thick and that I would probably have issues trying to stamp with it. But look at this color, it's so pigmented. One of my favorite reds probably from Clear Jelly Stamper. I use that a lot, more so in like around Christmas time, but it is a fantastic red to use for like fall nails as well. And this cognac color is also a fall staple. If you guys aren't like guessing by now, there's going to be a lot of fall staple recommendations in this video. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of colors that I tend to reach for a lot during this time of year. The black that I'm using is the Clear Jelly Stamper Sticky Stamping Polish. I basically only use that one. You guys will rarely see me use like the normal black one because I find the black one, the sticky stamping polish, to be way more pigmented, and because it takes a little bit longer to dry, I find it a little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to do a green leaf just like right beside that cognac type of color, and then taking some of that stamping polish just on a palette, I'm going to draw out a little branch shape kind of off to the side here. I do work with the stamping polish on its own for painting sometime, especially if I'm doing like really fine detailed work or like polka dots or anything, because it dries pretty quick, so it works really good for this type of nail art. But sometimes if I'm using gel polish to do nail art, I find that it leaves like a thicker layer and I just don't really love that. So a lot of times you'll see me use this sticky stamping polish for hand painting too. After I have my lines all down, I'm just going to go in with some polka dots just to add a little something in the corner here. And then I wanted to add some polka dots kind of surrounding the nail as well. And then I also thought that it would be nice to kind of tie these leaves together, so I'm just like creating a stem with it too. I decided that I wanted to matte top coat this, but sometimes if you go right in with a matte top coat, it might smear your stamping, so I like to recommend doing a clear coat first, cure it, then go in with your matte top coat. I don't know what it is, but sometimes matte top coats just smear your artwork. After I've cured that matte, I did go in with some of my shiny top coat and just added some random polka dots throughout this nail, and what it's going to look like is it's going to look like raindrops kind of on the design, which looks really, really cool, like the contrast between it. So this is how the first design turned out. Super cute, fun, and a little bit more of a simple design for fall. Now the next design, this can be used in a variety of different ways. You can make it look like a French nail, you can cover the entire nail, you can play with different colors. It's just a very versatile design. So we're going to start with this color from Luxio. It is the perfect like creamy neutral color. And I'm going to go down with 2 thin coats of this. And the Luxio gel polishes are a little bit more like jelly and not so much of like a paint on, I find. So I find that they work really good for like the press-ons because it just makes it look like more like an actual gel nail, which is really fun to do. So after I've cured that, I'm going to go in with, I'm actually using an Apres gel polish for the red here. It is from their French manicure line, and I do like hand painting with those. But then for the green, I'm just going to use this BeMi Beauty Box color. Again, BeMi Beauty Box comes out with some of my favorite collections because they're very cohesive. This particular one came out in a fall collection, and that entire fall lineup was literally the perfect shades for fall. You're going to see a variety of them throughout this video as well. Actually, I think the next 3 colors I'm going to show you in here are are. So I went and kind of like outlined like a rough square shape on the side, and then I'm just going to take the brush of the gel polish to kind of fill it in. I'll either do the brush or I'll just do like my striping brush to fill it in. Here's another color from that fall collection. This one is a very nice mustard yellow type of shade. I'm going to show you another mustard yellow, which would be probably my top one throughout this video, but this is a very, very close second. And this one I'm going to create just kind of like an off-centered square kind of sitting on the edge here. This color is just the perfect brown, not only for fall time, but just all year round. It is just a great dark brown color. It's almost a little bit more of like a blacky brown, because you'll see when I go in and do like the black stitching, it kind of gets lost on this one. So maybe I'd recommend picking a little bit of a lighter color. Now for the stitching and all of like the lines, I'm going to use the Apres French Manicure Black. This is probably one of my favorite colors for hand painting different designs if I'm going to use a gel polish. I find it to be very highly pigmented. It doesn't necessarily move too much when you're hand painting either, and I find that for me personally it just works a little bit easier. So for the stitching, you're going to want to cure like your outlined lines first before you go in and do these little smaller lines. That way they don't like bleed together. And if I were to do this design again, I would go and freeze cure some of these lines, because you can see that a little bit of them started to run a tiny bit. But for your stitching, it doesn't matter really like what direction you go, or like if they're a little bit wonky, it almost adds a little bit to the effect of the nail design. After I've got my stitching done, I'm going to go in with a matte top coat, and this is the finished look. Again, just a really more kind of like simple design I find for fall, especially because you can put the patches like wherever you want on the nail. Now, tortoise inspired print is good all year round, but I find that I tend to create it a little bit more during the fall time. So I'm going to show you a pretty easy way, in my opinion, to do it. So we're going to start with this color from Apres, and it is a light brown glass gel. Now, if you don't have these glass gels in your collection, you can make glass gels really easy with the different colors that you have in your collection. Just add a bunch of clear to it and just like a tiny, tiny drop of your color, or you can actually mix in your alcohol inks, and that will give a really cool effect to it too. So go down with your brown, then I put some flakes on it, and this is where you kind of get a little bit more of that torty look, because we're going to do lots of layering. I first go in with like an orange glass gel on top, and you can see how that kind of tarnishes those flakes. It gives a really cool look. And in between these layers, I'm going back in with some more flakes, and this is going to add a little bit more of that layering effect to the nail design. And then we're going to take this dark brown glass gel. This is where you're going to get like a really pretty, like more of that torty type of looks. So you're just going to drop like little tiny blobs throughout the nail. And if you go in and put some of that lighter brown down first and then drop some of these darker brown into it, it's going to spread a little bit, and it gives kind of a cool look to it as well. But seriously, just kind of play around with the different layering of those three type of products. You want like a super dark brown, you want like a medium brown, and then you want an orange. Now, depending on the type of shade that you're going for, you're either going to want to add a little bit more orange as your final layer, or just kind of leave it a little bit dark brown. But the thing that I think really makes everything pop is, again, just adding a little bit more flakes that are just going to stay gold. They're not going to have that tarnished look, but you're going to see some of those tarnished flakes kind of poking through. So after I have everything cured, I'm going to go in with a top coat. I did pick a shiny top coat for this design, but I do think that torty looks really good when it is done matte as well, and you're going to see that a little later on in the video here. So the next design we're going to do is literally just a simple glitter fade, but I feel like this is something that I used to do all the time when I worked on clients, but it's something that is really simple, so I wanted to share it in this video. Now, I picked a really nice light sheer pink for the background of this, but you could pick a neutral, you could pick anything that you kind of wanted to be as the background. It's not going to really take over the design, so it doesn't really matter what kind of light color you do for it. You could even do something that like matches like a client's more natural nail too. That looks really good. And then I'm going to take this color from BeMi Beauty Box again. This is just the perfect shimmery type of maroon color, and it applies so nicely. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that at the French tip, or not the French tip, but at the tip of the nail. And after I have it where I want, I'm just going to go in with a sponge and just kind of like fade it down. It doesn't matter if this doesn't blend out perfectly or anything, because we're going to go in and cover it up with a bunch of glitter anyway, but I do want to have a little bit of that gradient effect. We're going to cure that, and then I'm going to go in with a little bit more of that color just to make it a little bit more of a bold shade, and again sponge some of that down to make it look like a gradient. Now for this sparkle, I chose this one by Fusion, and I apologize if this is discontinued or anything. I haven't kept up with the Fusion little potted collections, so I'm not too sure if this is available, but essentially you want to look for something that has more of like a clear base with some sheer glitters in it, and I gravitate towards Fusion for that because they have a lot of really good ones. And you're just going to fade that glitter where the red meets the pink and just kind of cover up that overlap. The nice thing about these glitters is you get some of that clear base, but then you get some of those pops of those chunky glitters. You can even go in and add some more chunky glitters to it while it's wet as well. After I've cured that, I'm going to take some more of those flakes and just kind of place them a little bit on that diagonal that we created with the red. And then I'm going to top coat it all, or you can encapsulate it in a clear gel because you might have some roughness to it. You might have to buff or file it out, which is exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just giving this nail a quick buff to get out some of that roughness that was poking through. I'm going to go back in with a top coat here, and this is the completed look. This is how I used to do my glitter fades on my clients all the time. It's actually something I haven't done on press-ons in a while, and I think I'm going to have to introduce this to my press-on shop because it is a fun look. I am a sucker for a good animal print nail, so we're going to do this design here, which is a little different than how I usually do my animal print. I'm going to start with like a lighter white, like off-white color. This one's called Cottage Core from Apres, but you just want something that is like an off-white color. Now you guys know I'm a sucker for those like rosy type of shades. This one from BeMi is perfect for fall. It's a little bit on that darker side. And then I'm going to take a rich dark green too. This one's a little bit more of like that moss green color. And I'm just going to paint some random blobs on the nail here. It does not matter if they are a little jagged. It doesn't matter if they are like some are small and some are big. It kind of adds to it if you do that. And this is where it's a little different from what I usually do with animal print. But I'm going to tie in some green directly beside that like rosy type of shade, and we're going to do some little green blobs throughout as well, just kind of on its own too. And I think this gives it like a really cool effect when we go in and do our black. So we're going to cure all of our dots, go in with some more of those flakes, and these flakes actually could have been applied before you went in and did like your little blobs of color as well. Either way, it gives kind of a cool look to add some flakes or just leave it too. Now I'm going to go in and do a matte top coat on this. You could go right in and do your painting. However, there is going to be a little bit of raisedness because of the gel, and I personally don't like doing any sort of hand painting on that. So I wanted to make it like an even layer by adding a matte top coat. And I'm using that sticky stamping polish again to create my little outlines. And usually when I'm doing animal print, I want my lines to be as small as possible. So I actually usually use a toothpick for it. But for this design, I wanted them to be a little bit more bigger and to stand out a lot more and basically cover up the entire nail. So I'm just going to create little like lines all around the nail. After I'm done that, I'm going to go in and do just some dots on the nail too, and this is going to give a really cool effect to the design. Wait till that is completely dry and then go in with your top coat. I chose a matte one for this look, but I do think it would look really good shiny. I just find matte looks look really, really good in the fall, and I tend to reach for matte a lot more then. This is the next cute design that we're going to do. It is a floral pumpkin. So we're going to start again with the neutral color. This one is from BeMi, and it is like a peachy shade, and it's kind of one of those colors that gives like a transparent look, which I personally love. But we're going to go in and do 2 coats of this to get like the full kind of opaque look with it. And I apologize that this is out of frame here. I'm just creating my little pumpkin outline, and I'm using the Apres French manicure brush for this, like the one that comes in the gel polish, because I thought it would work really good. Kind of outlining it roughly and then just going in and filling it in with the color. You can see here kind of the shape that I'm going for. It doesn't really matter the type of shape you're going to do because everything that's going to tie this design together like revolves around the outlining. So I'm going to go in with a matte top coat, then we're going to cut out the floral foil that I wanted to use. And the Glitter Mix Canada foil gel works fantastic. You just have to make sure you're working super, super thin with it, or you're going to have issues with it not only curing, but not transferring properly. So if you do have this and you're having issues with it, make sure you're doing a super, super thin layer with it. Cure that, and then I'm going to position the foil that I wanted to use. I liked this one because it had like the lines, and I thought it made it look a little bit more vintagey. But you can really use any sort of floral foils with it. There's even some really great like leaf foils out there that would look really good and make it look a little bit more of like a fall design as well. So after I place my foil down, I'm going to take a silicone tool and just like really rub that foil in before I lift it up. The nice thing about the Glitter Mix Canada foil gel is that if some of it doesn't transfer, you can go back in with your foil on top and just kind of rub it a little bit more, and it usually will transfer a second time. So I'm going to take some of the Apres French manicure black gel that I like to do or use, and I'm going to initially outline my pumpkin, and then you want to create these like little curved lines. You want some on the right hand side of the pumpkin to like curve one way, and then on the left hand side of the pumpkin you want them to curve the opposite way, and then in the middle they kind of just meet with this curved design. I'm going to cure that before I go in and do my little stem here. And for the stem, it's really fun to either add like a leaf on top of it, or you can add like a little swirly line, which is what I end up doing with it. I've also seen some people add like really cute stars to these pumpkin looks. There's a lot you can do with them, which makes it really fun and really versatile to kind of play around with. This is something I hadn't done before, but I had seen another creator do this where they just create like the lines on top of the pumpkin, and I think it looked really, really neat with it. So when I'm creating my line here, I tend to, like my little swirl, I tend to kind of rotate my nail quite a bit to get like the loopy line, because I know that that can be really tricky to create. Now I wanted to show a little bit about creating these pumpkins, because we're going to do another design right after this with the pumpkins and combining that torty look. This floral design turned out so cute, and we're going to take the skills that we learned from that one to create this really cute torty one. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start with this color. This is called Agave from Luxio from Accents. I love this shade, and I love this shade not only in the fall time, especially in the fall time, but also in the springtime or for floral nails. I think it's just such a beautiful like mossy type of green color. I'm going to go down and apply that kind of like in a curved pattern. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect or anything, because our black lines in our artwork is going to kind of fill this all in as we work, but I'm going to do 2 coats of my green just to make sure that it is opaque enough for me. After you've cured your green, then you're going to go in with the steps that we learned from the torty design earlier on. We're going to start with that kind of medium brown shade, and we're just going to fill this on top of the see-through tip part here. And then we're going to cure that and go in with some flakes on top of it. I like to use a little brush like this if I just want a small amount of flakes on the nail, which is what I want. I don't want too many flakes for this design. And then we're going to work with the orange color that we used as well, and then a darker brown too. So you're just creating all those different layers that we learned earlier on in the video, and working the flakes in between the different layers too, and work until you're happy with the way your torty pumpkins are turning out. I think this is a good time to chat a little bit more about why I really like that BeMi matte top coat. So when I am looking for a matte top coat, I want something that cures tack free, but also when you go on top of it, like with this design where we've got some flakes and some glitters and stuff, if you go in with that, it makes it a really pretty matte color, but then when you go back in and top coat after, it's not going to mattify those glitters. That is something that is really important to me because of all the different layers and looks and stuff that I do with my nail art. But I also really love to find a matte top coat where the chrome nail art that you do on top of it doesn't stick to the matte, and this one blew me away with it. Like when I was first introduced to this product at DK Beauty, they told me that it almost like repels chrome if you're doing isolated chrome or if you're doing like chrome stamping or anything, and I was a little bit skeptical at first, but I actually used it in one of my workshops and it worked fantastic. Probably one of the best matte top coats I've ever used as far as like repelling chrome and not making that chrome stick to it. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when you use matte top coats that say they're tack free, they're not actually tack free, and there's a little bit of an inhibition layer, and then your chrome sticks to it and it's annoying to kind of get off. That is not the case at all with this product. I also love, again, that when we go back in and do our top coat of this design, all those glitters are going to pop through again. It's just a really, really great matte top coat to work with. So I'm creating my lines for the pumpkins here, just kind of wherever I want them. The nice thing about the Apres manicure gel polishes is that they cure tack free, so you can kind of use them as like a chrome instead of using like a tack free top coat on top. They don't work like the absolute best. You're going to see that when we go in and do our chrome step here, but they do work pretty good. So if you're doing some hand painting like this, it can kind of act on top of it if you want to do your chrome. That said, I do like the look of the pumpkins here just done with like a matte or with the black as well. So if you didn't want to do a chrome outline, you don't have to. You could just leave it as the black. But I'm going to cure all of my lines, and then the chrome that I'm going to use is this one from the gel bottle. It's called Blonde, and it is the perfect like gold chrome, especially for this time of year. I'm going to go in here on top of my pumpkin lines, and it's just going to chrome the matte lines. And you're going to see when I go and like brush away the chrome, there's very little chrome left behind. And I think what is left behind at the top there is just because I kind of like made my outline of my black a little bit thicker than I wanted it to. I actually really liked the Torty pumpkins here being matte, but I do want to see all of my layers, so I did decide to go in with a shiny top coat. And this is such a fun way to use some of the different techniques that I've shared with you guys in this video. So this design I saw on Pinterest and I thought it was so cute, I wanted to recreate it for you guys. We're going to start with like a really fun neutral background. This one is N10, again from BeMi Beauty Box. It's a nice like peachy light cream type of color, and we're going to go in and do 2 thin coats down with this. It is pretty opaque to just do it as one, but I did want it to pop a little bit more, so I did go in with a second coat. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Fusion matte top coats. They came out with a fall collection one year, which featured these 3 shades in it. And I absolutely love working with these, not only for fall, but I feel like they do lean really towards fall. This Harvest one I use all the time though, because it works great for floral nails. I decided to use the Cider shade for this design because I thought it would just look really cute with it. So you can see that it cures to a matte free finish, which is great for me for doing a lot of different nail art because I work on a matte finish all the time, but we're going to have a little bit of those sparkles poking through. So we're going to create our little ghost in the center, and then I decided to do a little pumpkin off to the side, and I picked this color, which I thought looked like orange, but as I go and create more of the nail art on this nail, I'm like, you know what, I think that looks more like a tomato. So I end up adding like an orange to it to make it a little bit more of a pumpkin and not a tomato. I'm going to add some little like quick and easy florals with my dotting tool, and I'm curing in between each of my little designs here. That way if I mess up, I can just go in and wipe it off and not have to worry about taking off the rest of the design as well. I'm adding some yellow centers to the flowers here, and then I'm going to go in and just add some really quick leaves. The nice thing about this design is I feel like it's beginner friendly for like hand painted nail art. I feel like for the most part it should be pretty easy to do. I tend, if I'm doing like more of these beginner friendly looks, I tend to use my dotting tool or a really small brush like this one. This one's from Accents and it works great for these type of designs here. After I went in and did my pumpkin, made him a little bit more orange, I'm going to add a green stem, and then I don't know why I did this. I wasn't too sure if I would like it, but my brush was a little bit dry and it ended up working out okay because I kind of could like fan out the little lines of the pumpkin. Not necessary though. I do think it looks cute with this look if you just keep it simple and just have the pumpkin be orange. Like you don't have to go in and add lines for it. But you can see why I love those matte top coats, because when you go in and top coat it after, they just all pop and you've got this really fun glittery background for whatever nail art you're going to do. Now this look, I wanted to play around with some different foils that I had gotten in my collection in my last unboxing video. So we're going to take this color Swank, and this is, in my opinion, like the perfect mustard yellow color. I just think it is a beautiful shade for this time of year, and I think I might end up wearing it on my nails too. So I'm going to go do 2 thin coats of that, and then I'm going to take this like yellowy type of foil from the leaf foil set that I had, and I'm going to go in with my Glitter Mix Canada foil gel again. Make sure you're doing it nice and thin, cure it. Now the nice thing about these clear foils is you could actually just like cut out your little leaf image if you want, and then it makes it a little bit easier to apply. And this is going to be my background for some stamping. So personally for me, if some of these images don't transfer as good as I would like, it's not a big deal because I'm going to go in and cover it up with stamping anyway. But for the most part, if you've like rubbed your stamping pretty good over top of that foil gel, it does transfer really good. And the clear foils I find where we've got some clear background, in my opinion, tend to transfer a little bit easier than like the full like designed foils that are out there. I did want to do some layering with this, so I'm going to go in with some more foil gel and do like a brown leaf on top of that yellow leaf. Again, we're just adding layers, which is something I love to do. Now I knew that I wanted to do some chrome stamping on top of this design, so I am going to take that BeMi matte top coat and go in and add another layer here. If you're doing chrome stamping, you want to be working on some sort of matte top coat because if you work on a shiny, your chrome is just going to transfer all over the nail, and that's not what we want. So the plate that I'm going to pick is something where you can stamp leaves down as a center and then do a really nice outline with my black. I'm just going to load up my extra stamper that I have off to the side with some BeMi rose gold chrome, and this is one of my favorite chromes. I absolutely love it, again for all year round, but especially this time of year. And then the clear stamping polish that I'm using is the clear sticky stamping polish from Clear Jelly Stamper. I'm going to stamp my center down first, then go immediately in with my rose gold stamper head, and then I'm going to go in with my black outline on top of it. And I love chrome stamping. It gives such a cool look to your designs, especially when you're doing something like this where like your back of the background is like a little bit more faded into the color, and then these rose gold leaves that we're doing on top are just really gonna pop. Now for the leaf stamping, I'm just kind of filling in some of that negative space that I have from the foils that I transferred, and if any of the areas didn't transfer like perfectly, I'm gonna kind of cover that up with my stamping. I tend to do this a lot with my nail art, you guys will notice. If there's something that didn't work properly, if I can avoid taking it off and I can go in and do nail art on top of it, that's what I will do. But I really like the contrast of this design where we've got like almost like that really pretty gold type of foil, and then we've got some browns, and then we have the rose gold of the chrome stamping on top of it. This design I think would look great matte as well, but I did decide to go in and make it shiny because I wanted that chrome stamping to really pop through. So my last design here is going to talk to you about my favorite plaid stamping plate, which is something that is very popular for this time of year. We're going to start with this neutral kind of taupe color as our base, and we're going to go in and do 2 coats of that. And then I did decide kind of last minute, because I wanted to show you guys this product. It's called Duchess from the gel bottle, and it is a fantastic darker brownish burgundy cat eye gel polish. Now this color does get a little lost when you do the plaid on top of it, but it's okay because I mostly just wanted to show you the color for it here. But the cat eye gel polishes from the gel bottle pull so nicely. I personally find that there's some brands out there that are a little bit harder to work with than others, and I find the gel bottle one just works like seamlessly for me personally. Going to cure that, and then I'm going to go in and do a matte top coat on top of it, and we're going to use this plate here. This is my favorite plaid stamping plate. I use it for plaid nails all year round, again mostly fall and winter, which is why I wanted to feature it now. I'm going to do chrome stamping again with that clear sticky stamping polish for like the main part of my plaid here, and this looks really cool on top of the cat eye, but again you kind of lose some of the cat eye with it, so it's not like I would recommend doing a cat eye base for it, but that cat eye color was just so cool. So then I'm going to take a dark brown. This is number 60, again another staple of mine in my collection, and I'm going to go right over top of that, and that's going to give like a really cool plaid look. Now I actually did some floral decals on top of it, but completely was not filming and didn't realize until I was editing this video. So this is what the design ends up looking like if you're going to go in and add some floral decals on top of it too. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you some inspiration for the upcoming fall season. Comment below and let me know which design is your favorite. Make sure you're following me on all of my social media, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!